Welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace reporting live at this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival presented by citizens here at Highmark Stadium here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. One of the headliners this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival is the Spanish Harlem Orchestra. Now, over the last 20 years, this band has won 3 unprecedented Grammys and has toured the world, keeping Latin jazz and salsa music alive. Tonight here on the Pace Report, you're going to see highlights of the Spanish Harlem Orchestra performing here at this year's festival, as well as be sitting down with one of the co-founders and arrangers and music directors of the Spanish Harlem Orchestra, Mr. Oscar Hernandez. We sit down and we break bread and talk about how this band started, the legacy of salsa music and Latin music, and also the economics of how all this music has continued to have a resurgence both here and abroad. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of the 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, presented by citizens here at Highmark Park, here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here on the Pace Report.
Yeah, right.
Indios, hispanos y negros nos vinieron a formar, sangres de todas las razas y un futuro por lograr. A las entrañas del monstruo, como dijera Martín, para esforzarnos, para trabajar y a vivir. Desde Quisqueya hasta Bogotá, de la Pampa hasta La Habana, somos sangreros y parecer de esta tierra americana. Del centro norte y del sur, con un presente de luchar por un futuro mejor. Esta es mi imagen latina, este es mi nuevo cantar, para decirte, mi hermano, busca y encuentra la unidad. Para decirte, mi hermano, busca y encuentra la unidad.
congratulations on this brand new record. Tell my viewers how this orchestra came about.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I say divine intervention. It wasn't even my idea. It was a producer in the year 2000 who was not a musician, he was a producer, and he was actually a DJ, and he got a record deal with Warner Brothers Records to do a certain type of Latin record. He's a Latin music fan. So he called me up, and we talked about the concept. He wanted certain songs, we went back and forth. I put all the music together, called the musicians, went into the studio, recorded it. Warner Brothers dropped it, and then at the end of, after a year and a half, it was in the can. He sold it to a small label called Rope-a-Dope Records. It came out and it was nominated for a Grammy. And we've been performing since 2002 all over the world. So we're celebrating our 21st year, and it's just been a blessing. And it was meant for me, Brian. It was really meant for me. I just go like, wow. Just go like, because gave me the opportunity to put my own. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time. I work with everybody, you know, as a pianist, arranger, producer. So, and I never thought about making my own band. I just didn't have that ambition. But this was meant for me to keep that incredible legacy and history of this music alive, from all the people I was blessed to play with, you know, since my late teens and my early 20s. And I tell people, you know, being born and raised in New York City during those years, the education that I got from the people that I got to play with, you couldn't pay for at the best university. So it was amazing now, all these years later, to put all of that into what I do with Spanish Harlem Orchestra. And here we are, 8 CDs, 6 Grammy nominations, 3 Grammys won, traveled all over the world. And you know, putting a stamp on the music and representing the best of our culture through what we do, which is music. So there you go.
I did some serious research on you. Your brother, my understanding, found a piano. Someone gave him a piano, and that is how you started to learn how to play the instrument.
Well, I mean, I started at the local boys club when I was 12, playing trumpet. You know, it was meant for me, and I remember the teacher saying, "Oh, this kid's gonna be good," and the music director of the boys club, they give you like a little certificate, and it said on my certificate, "Barring any unforeseen setbacks, should go all the way." I was 12, 13, and then so what happened was, I was having problems with the embouchure, the physical part of the trumpet. And the trumpet teacher said, "You know what, why don't you just switch the saxophone or the piano?" Lo and behold, divine intervention, remember, all right, God. My oldest brother, because I have 11 brothers, I'm a family of 11, he's a lot older than me. He was the superintendent of the building where I lived in the South Bronx. Somebody gave him a piano, and he hooked up this room in the basement, painted it beautiful, put the piano, and that's where it all started for me. At 14, I started playing, and you know, I mean, it was the music that I heard from every other window or every other door in my neighborhood, you know. And I would see my older brothers and sisters getting ready to go dancing on the weekend, and I'd be hearing the music of Tito Puente, Machito, Tito Rodriguez, you know, and all Ray Barretto, Eddie Palmieri, on and on, all the great people who were making music, Latin music. And then I caught the bug, and I started playing with local neighborhood bands when I was 15. And started playing professionally when I was 16. And at 18, I got one of the top gig in New York City with a singer named Ismael Miranda, who was like the most popular singer, and we were working 5, 6, 7 days a week. So I was able to afford my car, able to afford to have an apartment, to be independent at 18. And that's where it all started for me. And here we are 50 years later, you know, having played with everybody, with Tito Puente, Machito, you know, Celia Cruz, you know, I mean, huh?
You took the rudiments of these band leaders,
Well,
and you put them in the Spanish Harlem Orchestra.
Well, the thing is, I tell people, look, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm doing the music that I learned, that I was doing on this level back in the 70s when I was a kid. Hardcore, raw, organic, New York hardcore. That's what we're about, and that's what the essence of Spanish Harlem Orchestra is about. So, and that's, it's gone through changes, salsa music. It went through like a really pop period, bland, devoid of the essence of what the swing of the music is. But that's not what we're about. That's not what I'm about. So I have great musicians. I'm clear on the arrangements. I'm clear on my mission. Put it that way. My mission is, to keep the music alive and well and on the pedestal it merits to be on in terms of, all the incredible people that I've been blessed to play with. So it's really simple for me, and I love it, man. I love music. I mean, there's a deep passion. I feel like forever grateful. I'm constantly composing, arranging, preparing new records. I also have my Latin Jazz Quintet. I just finished recording it in New York this past week. 10 original songs of mine. I have 4 records out with my Latin Jazz Quintet. This will be my 4th. Sorry, 3. This will be my 4th. Those were done in LA with great musicians. This one was done in New York. So, and I got my feet in, I got my hands in a bunch of different things also, and it gives me a chance to, put my foot forward in different directions sometimes, and I'm just a blessed man. What can I tell you, bro?
Tell my viewers the origins of salsa music, because Latin music, there's about 7 or 8 different music styles.
Well, I mean, the origins of salsa is from Cuba. It's Afro-Cuban music. There's no doubt. But it developed in its own unique way in the city of New York and in the Caribbean. Don't forget that Cuba in 1959 became communist, so it was kind of cut off from the world. But people still had their ear, musicians had their ear to the ground as to what was happening there. But the essence of the music, those rhythms come from Cuba. And there's obviously other rhythms that come from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and the Caribbean. But the main source of what salsa is Afro-Cuban music. But it developed its own unique personal stamp in the city of New York through Fania Records. Fania was like the Motown.
Right.
Motown of Latin music. And you could make the same comparison. It had an incredible amount of artists, incredible amount of creativity. The music that was being produced in the 70s in New York was like, oof. I mean, it was like a factory.
The musicians were just...
Yeah, all experimental. Everybody was into trying to, New York is very competitive. So, we used to go and play at a club and there was always 3 or 4 bands and, the band leaders would say, we got to, so-and-so's playing today, we got to kick ass. You know what I mean? So you had that, that's inbred in my nature. It's kind of funny because I tell the musicians, I ain't leaving no stones unturned. We got to get up there and we got to deal. If not, if you have a different agenda, make your own band. Best of luck to you. We'll be friends, but not this band. So I'm clear on what, the agenda of the concept of the music is, the swing. Because I mean, if you know anything about Latin music, I mean, we left that stage, the swing is, it's unmistakable. And it's based in dance music, because it's dance music at its core. But for Spanish Harlem Orchestra, it's more than just dance music. I mean, Latinos, they will hear Latin music, oh, party, yay, and they want to drink and party and dance. But for us, we're playing world stages, man. We're playing all the major jazz festivals all over the world. We play performing arts centers where people are sitting down. So it's a different level, and sometimes dance, unfortunately, sometimes dance trivializes the art form of the music. So I'm clear on trying to maintain that art form and making the public realize that, we're on this level, come on the ride with us, man. And if you're Latino, be proud, man. Be proud of somebody who's out there representing you all over the world in terms of, top quality, in terms of, achieving success. And I'm from the hood. I'm from the South Bronx, man. So for me, being from the South Bronx and having traveled all over the world, playing, we've been to Russia, to Hong Kong. We were just playing for 10,000 people in Korea, South Korea, at the Seoul Jazz Festival. We were playing in 10,000 people in Mexico 2 weeks later. So we have a fan base and people who understand what we're about and understand that we're more than just the flavor of the month, or the flavor of the day, or the flavor of the year. Our music is long-standing in terms of the quality. And if you're not sure, just listen to the records. And if you're still not sure, come hear us live. So, and there's no ego when I say that. It's just a lot of passion and a lot of love and a lot of respect for that legacy.
We talked earlier about the great band leaders, Machito, Tito Rodriguez, Tito Puente. And I noticed that all the Latin bands, especially the Latin jazz bands, there's a core of horns, there's a core of percussion, and then there's the vocals. What's the makeup of this group, and what makes these bands what they are?
Well, in this group, I mean, everybody has your own, each band has, and there's a lot of great bands, other than Spanish Harlem Orchestra, let's be real. But I mean, we've kind of carved our own niche in terms of who we are, and people know, people say, I could hear it. And it's not said by me, people say, man, that band's awesome. And some people say, that's my favorite band. Some people say, that's the best band. So when you hear those comments and when you hear the reaction of the public, like last night we were playing, man, in Rahway, New Jersey, at Union County in Jersey. At the end of the show, it was a performing arts center. The whole audience was on their feet. So that's the type of reaction that we get. And yeah, it's stereotypical what we have. I mean, and it features, in our case, it goes back to my day as a young musician where the bands used to feature the musicians. Now that they went away from that, it's just about the singer. You know what I mean? So the band's not really featured anymore, but not with Spanish Harlem Orchestra. We got great musicians and I make sure that they're featured and they're part of what we do, and it's an important part of the concept of the band. I got 13 musicians. If people are sitting in that seat, they will have heard everybody express themselves, the opportunity to express themselves. So that's the beauty of it for me, and it harks back to the day, when I grew up, that kind of was forgotten. Even the ballad we play today, nobody plays that anymore. I'm committed to maintaining the culture through music, playing that style of music, because it's the music of my parents and it's the music that I grew up with, and it's important to me. And besides, it's beautiful. The fact that, and I have 3 vocalists that they can sing in 3-part harmony, and
I was going to ask you about that.
I mean, it's
how did that come to play?
well, I mean, in Latin music they used to have what they call trios, guitar trios. It was 2 guitars and 3 singers, and it's called trio music. The Trio Los Panchos, the Trio Los Condes, the Trio Los Tres Asas, is beautiful, beautiful lyrics with 3-part harmony. So I always wanted to have that as a part of what we do. And in every record we'll feature that. And plus we have 3 great vocalists. So, I work with them, and they're excellent, and they pick up really quick. And it's a beautiful thing when you see everybody unified towards one goal. It's like watching, the Steelers when they were in their heyday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where everybody was, on automatic pilot, and everything was like, well-oiled grease, and they used to win. The same thing with sports, when you have, people who are on the same page about winning. I'm a big sports fan, so for me, I make that analogy, but it's about having everybody on the team clear with about what the agenda is.
La alegría de vivir de mí para ti, yo vivo maravillado, que no puedo estar si no estoy bien ocupado. Me alimento al respirar del aire que tú respiras, y cuando voy a cantar, eres tú la que me inspira. De mí para ti, yo me siento enamorado de ti, solamente de ti, y es por eso que estoy así. De mí para ti, de mí para ti, de mí para ti, de mí para ti. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre cariño, este amor que he guardado es solo para ti. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Todo lo que sueño y lo que anhelo es solo para ti. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Si tú bien sabes que me vuelvo loco y me rompe el coco, de mí para ti, de mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Sabes que te amo, sabes que te quiero y te lo confieso así. Agua que llegó la Hispánica. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Amorcito de mi vida, ven, que quiero hacerte feliz. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Tú eres mi ser y yo siempre he vivido por ti, solo por ti. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí para ti, para siempre. Yo tengo todo contigo y te lo demuestro aquí. De mí para ti, este amor es de mí.
Tito Puente and Celia Cruz, they were vocal about the term salsa. They disliked the term salsa, but it's a term that stuck with the music. What is your take on that term?
Well, I mean, I certainly understand. Tito was more vocal about it, because but don't forget, Tito's old school. He didn't grow up, and all of a sudden he's got this term. He's like, salsa. What is that? Salsa sauce. It's not. I'm not doing with the music. But the truth is, it created a positive thing out of it. I feel it's my own personal opinion. I think the fact that it created one name that everybody can universally gravitate to or identify in terms of a music. So it has its positives. He was kind of against it because he's saying it's just not what we have. Guaracha, we have flamenco, we have rumba, we have bolero, we have cha-cha-cha. So he wanted the rhythms to stay distinct, not be all lumped together, which that was his big gripe about it. But for me, it's made an identifiable, I guess, idea of a concept worldwide, and it's a positive. So I'm not going to look at it as a negative. You know, I understand why he did it. I understand why he was against it, but and I come from, you know, I mean, he's a lot older than me. He was a lot older than me, but I mean, I understand where he's coming from because I lived that part, you know, when it happened. But the truth is, it created a movement. It helped create a movement worldwide, which is a positive.
You know, after World War II, the big bands had to disband because of economics. And Latin orchestras and Latin bands have had large ensembles. Has the economics stayed the same or changed over the last 50 or 60 years?
Well, you know, like I said, I grew up in New York City in the 70s. And it doesn't exist at all like it was back in those days. I mean, when I grew up, there were literally 40 clubs that you can play in. We used to play doubles and triples and quadruples every now and then. We used to go from club to club. Rayburn, we played at La Mancha from 9 to 10. Then we go from 11 to 12 and played it at the Casino 14. And then we go from 1 to 2 at the Corso. We run out, and there was a scene everywhere. So it's different. It doesn't exist on that level. We're fortunate with Spanish Harlem Orchestra because of the reputation that we developed, that there are people all over the world now that are in tune with the music, partly because of dance, because people love to dance salsa. But I like to think that there's an intelligent, discerning audience that goes beyond the BS, commercial BS that they're fed on the radio to see good music. And those people, that's where they look and they find us, for whatever reason. And they, not only us, but other people who are playing quality music. So it's changed. It doesn't exist on that level, Brian, at all anymore. But the truth of the matter is, it's still, people say, oh, salsa's dying. It bugs me,
But it hasn't died.
Well, I mean, it's like, we're proof that hasn't died. You have the Gran Combo, I could name all, 10 groups off the top of my head, artists that are still out there making they're making money, they're working. So, no, it hasn't died. I mean, the components that made it happen back in those days have changed. They're not the same, they're not on that level, New York, there's not even clubs in New York, could you imagine? I think part of that is the economics, because it's become gentrified, and people, I hate to say it, the people with money don't want, urban, I don't want urban where I'm living, you know what I'm saying? So, but New York was all urban back in those days, in the 70s. I tell people, New York used to be grimy, and slimy when I grew up. It was, man. 42nd was the bowels of the earth, man. 42nd Times Square. Now it's like Disneyland. I had to laugh, which is great because they cleaned it up. But so it exists on a different level now. But for us, thank God, it works for us. We're working in a global, in a global world where people are aware. I mean, we don't have a huge following, but we have a following. Globally. We've been to Europe, like we used to go to Europe, once or twice a year. Now, because of the pandemic, things have slowed down, but we're going to Europe again next year. So we've been to Russia, Japan, Australia. We played at the Sydney Opera House in Australia. That's amazing. And not to mention, you know, we were just in Korea. So if the band's played all over the world, that gives you a clue that somebody's listening to what we're doing, you know, which is cool. And they're also fans of other bands as well. So
the old adage of everything old is new again.
yeah, kind of. I mean, there's certainly an element of that happening. But for me, I just, people ask me, so what would you like in the future? I'm saying the same thing I'm doing now, just more of it maybe. Just to keep getting the opportunity to do what I do, to put the best music out there that I can possibly put out. And it comes from a place of love, because the records that we make, I mean, it's nice if he likes it, she likes it, they like it. But if they don't like it, doesn't like it, he doesn't like it, I love it. I mean, and I don't go back and I don't visit the past. I do my records and I move on. But when I hear them again, because somebody will play them, I'll be somewhere and go like, wow, that sounds great. You know? So that's the one thing that I can hang my hat on at the end of the day. For me, the music is kick-ass. I mean, it's really great music. And I make sure that when I leave that studio at the end of the day and the record is finished, that I absolutely love everything about it. And it was made with a team of people who understand the concept, who have it near and dear to their hearts, and who want to be able to portray what the essence of this music is in terms of swing. And then more so, not only in terms of swing, in terms of, you know, the quality of the arrangements, the quality of the solos, the quality of musicianships, the quality of the vocals. All of that, you know, comes into play, and I can't do it by myself, but, you know, I'm clear as a leader as to how to make it happen, and I'm really good at it, I have to say, you know. I've been doing it for a lot of years.
That'll do it again for this very special edition of the Pace Report. Reporting live at this year's 13th annual Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, presented by Citizens here at Highmark Stadium here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'd like to personally thank the talented Oscar Hernandez of the Spanish Harlem Orchestra for his time. For more information on the Spanish Harlem's upcoming tour dates and to order their latest CD, visit them online at spanishharlemorchestra.com and follow them on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, I'd like to personally thank Ms. Janice Burley, the artistic director of the Pittsburgh International Jazz Festival, for allowing me to come out here and interview and shoot these artists this year. Also, Carolyn McNair of Carolyn McNair Public Relations for assisting me for this entire weekend. For more information on the Pace Report, visit me online at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Pace Report. Also, follow me on YouTube and Vimeo. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.
Americana.